Are you a business owner or employee who needs to network but is terrified of walking into a room full of people you don't know? Are you afraid of being left out of conversations or being awkward in the conversations you do have? Your tour guide, Faithann, is here to walk alongside you through the networking terrain, offering tips and tricks to network with ease. Grab your sunscreen and suitcase. Faithann is ready. Are you?
Welcome, new and returning listeners. I'm Faithann, the Networker's Tour Guide, and this is the podcast to get your networking questions answered one episode at a time. And this episode, I have a wonderful guest with me, Sara Golding. Sara, thank you for saying yes to coming on the podcast.
Faithann, thank you so much for having me. This is fantastic. I love what you're doing and the clients that you're connecting with. So I'm just so happy to be a part of your podcast today.
Well, I'm grateful that you wanted to come on. I am surrounded by such wonderful business owners. It's amazing to me each day, how the privilege that I get to learn about so many hardworking business owners and be a part of their businesses and being a cheerleader and a fan for them. It makes me very excited. So, Sara, let's tell the audience about your two businesses that you have.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the owner of Sunny Girl Business Solutions. I do bookkeeping and profitability strategy for small businesses. I focus a lot on product-based businesses, specifically handcrafted, the types of businesses you would find in local gift shops or farmers markets, but really any product-based business, so restaurants, retail, even hairstylists have a cost of goods connected to what they do and what they offer for their services. And then I also own Sunny Girl Sundries, which is handcrafted candles, bath, and body products. I do a lot of custom gifts, corporate gifting with your logos on it, private label, and then wholesale products as well.
Yeah, and Sarah and I met through networking through probably OKC Women in Business about maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
And Sarah has a Facebook group called Makers in Business, and it's a real resource for those local people. Well, not just local, but just business owners in general who make products. And her expertise is helping us understand how to price our products because so often it's the thing that we do we're good at, but then there's all these other things that we have to be good at. And if you don't price your products correctly, then you can't stay in business. And so, in this group, Makers in Business on Facebook, she has a lot of resources and she goes live and she talks to us about our handmade products, all the good things that we need to know. So, this is how she came to be on the podcast in particular. She was doing a live and she was telling, I'll let you tell the audience what you were telling. And I was just I had to stop what I was doing because I was working and listening. And I'm like, man, I just have to stop and just listen because what you were saying was so important and insightful. And then I worried that maybe I put too many comments on your live and you were tired of them, but it was just phenomenal what you were saying. So I'd love for you to share, if you're willing, what you were talking about in particular during that live.
Of course, thank you. You're so kind to me with all of your comments, and I did. I love the engagement that you had. It's nice to have comments, as you know, on your lives because those things show back up on your Facebook pages. Not everybody gets a chance to see things as it's going on, so being able to catch the replay, see other comments, see other questions that people have, sometimes that sparks your own questions and conversations as well. This one particular live that you're talking about, we were talking about marketing for small businesses. And again, relating more to product-based businesses, where I think a lot of business owners get stuck in the minutia because we end up in this space where we're so ingrained in what we're doing and what we're trying to offer that we forget from the perspective of our clients. What are they really looking for? And I'll give an example of one of the body products that I work with. I've got a body oil and it's amazing. And I've researched and formulated forever to create this thing to make it the most amazing product. And I know the ingredients inside and out. I hand selected every single piece of this and I put it in there for a reason. But when it comes to our clients, even though they're looking for maybe a body oil because they have dry skin or they're looking for a lotion, they're not necessarily looking specifically at my ingredient list. What they're trying to do is solve a problem. So I go and when I'm talking to potential customers, I talk to them about a body oil is similar to a lotion, except it's water based. So now I've talked about, yes, a little bit of ingredients, but I'm giving them a baseline to start their comparison because I think just about every woman has used lotion or a body cream or something at some point. So now we've got a baseline in our mind of what we're talking about. And then I talk about the user experience. So when you use a lotion, sometimes you go and you wash your hands and are kind of gummy, or you feel like you constantly reapply lotion throughout the day. Well, you don't have to do that with a body oil because it sets into your skin. You don't feel greasy. It's mild enough that you can use it on your face without breaking out. Now, I'm still not talking about my ingredient list, but I'm talking about the client experience. I'm solving a problem. They're already in my sphere because they've got dry skin. They're trying to figure out the solution of I'm using these products and I don't like using them. Is there a better user experience out there? And that's what I'm providing. I'm providing a better user experience in the form of a product. And we start to relate more to what the clients are truly trying to figure out. A good friend of mine, Vincent Lee, is a brand strategist, and he frequently uses the example of a mattress. Nobody buys a mattress because of coil counts and gel foams and mattress toppers and all these things. They're buying it because they want a good night's sleep. If you go and look at a mattress store or mattress commercials, they're not talking about coil counts and stainless steel and titanium and all of those things. They're talking about, hey, this is durable and it's not going to move around if your other half or your dog or your pet comes and jumps on the bed or rolls over in the middle of the night. My parents have one of those sleep number beds, and it will automatically start to adjust if one of them starts snoring. Well,
Mm.
that's not specifically for the person that's snoring. That's for the other party in the other side of the bed that woke up and they're not getting a good night's sleep. So there's user experiences that we put into some of these products that starts to connect on a deeper level. I mean, really, how many of us, Faith Ann, will know on the top of their head what type of mattress they're sleeping on? And we sleep on them literally every single night for years at a time, and I couldn't tell you half of what's in my mattress, but I know whether I'm sleeping well on it. I know if I'm up and down all night and I'm cranky and I'm lethargic if I wake up. That says that my user experience isn't where it should be. So that's where I try to work with my product based businesses. And even if you're not a product based business, thinking about not just the technical side of what you offer, but what's the problem that you're trying to solve and what's the user experience that they are getting out of it. Because that's truly what people are trying to buy from you when they use your products or your services.
Well, there's so much good things you said. So let me just recap. So Sarah is saying instead of focusing on ingredients, focus on the problem that you're trying to solve. And I do remember that you mentioned too during the live that we can, as creators, we can be very proud of our ingredients. So then we want to talk about them. But the user experience doesn't care about the ingredients, they care about the result. I want better sleep. I want less dry skin. I want the result. It's result, 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 result. It's not the minutia, like you said, of how you're getting there. And it's a nice reminder for your people in your community to be thinking about what's the problem you're trying to solve, like you said. So, was there anything that like prompted you specifically to target that topic that day, or you just Do you find that your creators, the people who make things, kind of struggle with this of where to focus and when they talk about their products?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's such a great question. As I mentioned, I work with a lot of handcrafted businesses, specifically within the soap cosmetics industry. And there's a lot of regulation in what you can and can't say about what your products can do if you haven't gone through actual third party testing, right? We don't want the snake oil from 100 years ago where people are saying my product does a thing and then it doesn't do a thing. And we're preying on people's insecurities or their desperation, unfortunately. So there's regulations in place as a group of entrepreneurs, and there's close to 400,000 makers just within the United States, estimated, that are all in this handcrafted sphere. So, how do we move beyond that? I spend all of this time and care and effort to make sure every single ingredient I've put into my products makes sense and it's the right amount of luxury and it's time consuming and it's mentally consuming for a lot of our makers when they put these things out there, their products out there. They're so, they're so, like you said, they're proud of it. I mean, this is their baby that they've been working on for so long. But you start to cross over these lines in talking about ingredients, talking about benefits and what do they do, what do they not do, versus what can you actually say legally that doesn't violate some of these other regulations. There's some cosmetic regulations and FDA regulations, but there's also truth in advertising. So we're looking at it from a couple different angles. And I think it's a piece that a lot of our makers are struggling with. How do you balance that? How do you balance between staying on the right side of what you can say, but still being able to show off this amazing product that they've created out of so much effort and devotion? You don't want to just say, well, it's a body oil and that's it. You want to be like, this is an amazing body oil and everybody should use it. And they should use it because, and that's where they get tripped up. So now we're trying to give tools and resources of what is that because? Well, because as a user experience, I don't have to worry about that weird feeling on my hands when I go and wash them like I do with lotion. I don't have to worry about my face breaking out or reacting like it does with a heavy lotion that's clogging my pores. Now I can just say, my facial oil is gentle and it's not going to break you out later on. So we're not getting into a medical claim. We're just saying this is what it's not going to do. So we can start to find better ways to talk about that user experience. I'm not going to go out in that Oklahoma sun feeling greasy in the summertime. I can feel like my skin is nourished and I'm not this, glistening hot mess in the 100-degree weather. So there's user experience ways that we can communicate how wonderful our products are without crossing over some of those technical lines.
Okay, so things like your face won't break out if you use my or this product. You're not going to feel greasy. So those are simple. Those are simple things that people can understand. And for your maker who maybe is a little new, and they might say, but I want them to understand that, this ingredient X is because, I mean, it's so simple. Just you won't feel greasy. Is that enough? That would be my question, is we need to make those makers understand that the more simple that actually is enough. That's
Mhm.
going to be the driver for them is the simple results. So that what? Buy this oil so that what? And it doesn't come with an ingredient list. It comes with, like you're saying, like Sara is telling us, uh, skin that doesn't break out and skin that's not greasy. That's so helpful for us to be thinking about. So in the same line, Sara, what are some of the things, I mean, do you have some other things that you talk about your own products that would be helpful for other business owners? What are some of the other things that ways you describe the products that you sell?
Sure. And I like your comment about keeping things simple. One of the topics that you've talked about at times is when we're out networking or we're talking about what we're selling, we get into that Tasmanian devil of we're trying to give too much information and it's overwhelming to the person that's listening, and they don't always walk away with what you're really trying to communicate in your messaging. So being able to get things down into simple, easy, relatable terms, we all feel good when we hear, oh, that's not going to make you feel greasy, right? We can relate to that. We understand it. We connect with it. And we've had lotions or products that make us feel greasy and gross, and we don't want that. So now it's short and sweet, and it's approachable and relatable. Some of the other things that I talk about with my products go back into that user experience. It's about trust in the product. These are ingredients that you can feel good about, not ingredient A does benefit A and ingredient B does benefit B, and then they're lost in, the whirlwind. It's you can feel good about these because I have a minimal ingredient list.
Mm,
So we're talking about that. I leave out a lot of the chemicals that commercial products have.
okay.
So again, I'm not going into the minutia of it, but I'm like, this is better because we just leave out all the stuff that you don't want. It's equating it to processed food to not processed food. Okay, we can relate to that. This doesn't have the chemical ingredients that you find in your commercial products. This has a very short ingredient list that you can easily read and identify what those products are. So you start talking again about that user experience. You don't have to get confused reading off an ingredient label. You know what's in it. You have confidence in what's in those products. I do a lot of gift giving. That's where a lot of my products go, both for corporate gifting and personal gifting, especially with holidays. A bar of soap makes a great hostess gift or a new candle.
Mhm.
And we talk about having clean ingredients, natural ingredients, but those again are just kind of buzzwords that aren't regulated. So I have to build the trust with my customers in myself. They need to know that they can come to me, even if they don't know what clean truly means. They know that I know and I have a standard of what clean is. So if they give this as a gift, they're not going to be embarrassed. Because I tell you what, if you've ever given somebody a gift and then you go to their house like 6 months later and it's kind of like off in a corner or stashed into a cabinet, and you're like, okay, I know they didn't enjoy that. And you feel bad about it and you feel a little bit of shame and embarrassment. Again, now we are talking about a user experience. I know that when you give my products as a gift, your recipient is actually going to like them. If their standards for clean beauty or non toxic in their home, pet friendly, all of those things, it doesn't matter because you know that you've got the confidence in my products that when you give them as a gift, it's going to be on their standards as well. So we talk about those kinds of client experiences. It's a better gift giving than just something that's generic. We can do personalized products. So there's a lot of different verbiage that I use to once again tie it all back around to what's the user experience and how do you feel good in using what I've created?
That's great. Yes, I love how you said that my gifts, people can give them with confidence, knowing that they're actually going to be used. And so that would be something if you make something similar. Now is the time, friends. Now is the time to start talking about your product in this way. And if you have a pitch that you have to give, instead of trying to hit everybody, talk about a gift giving experience. I'm looking for that friend who has a lot of stress around gift giving, she worries that the gifts that she give are the right gifts for the people that she loves and cares about. And I would make the whole pitch not about the product so much. I would make it about the confidence that the person has in giving your product to someone else. So if that's the result, you ask for the opposite. I'm looking for the person who's concerned about, and everything you just told us about having confidence and knowing you can give your gift with confidence. So that's just a tip. Start thinking, how can I ask for what I really want? And Sarah, if you get that right buyer who has that emotion, like, I really want to buy my boss something, but man, this could go sideways quick, right? So
Mhm.
that's another tip. Start asking for those people who are concerned about gift giving, and then make your whole thing about that. And like Sarah said, I have to mention the Tasmanian Devil because it's one of my favorite insights that I bring whenever I go live in my group.
Hey, networkers! If you want your next one-to-one to go beyond swapping business cards, Faithann's got something for you. She created a free resource called 10 Questions to Ask in a One-to-One. It's packed with thoughtful questions that help you get to know someone and leave a lasting impression. Click on the 10 Questions link in the show notes and download this resource today.
Why don't you tell the listeners? I'm curious to know what you've heard me talk about the Tasmanian Devil. So tell them, what in your estimation, what is a Tasmanian Devil pitch?
I love this. I mean, I've actually used this in several of my networking groups, because I think it's so accurate in how we describe, we get up, whether we're in a networking group or we're introducing ourselves at a party or product-based businesses at a pop-up or trying to get new wholesale accounts. The Tasmanian Devil is when we start talking and we're like, "Hi, this is who I am, and this is what I offer." But then we keep going, and then we go some more, and go some more, and we go some more, and we have listed every single thing that we could ever possibly do, and we've lost the person that we're speaking to. And unfortunately, a lot of times this comes from a lack of confidence and a lack of clarity, because if we're operating in a scarcity mindset, we don't want to lose a customer. So we want to make sure that everybody knows every single thing that we do. But we lose them because it's too much information over all at once, especially if we are in a situation where we're in a networking group and there's multiple people that are going to make introductions. Even if I am selling at, say, a farmer's market, I'm not the only booth that's out there. They're going to be in front of me for 10 minutes, and then they're going to go somewhere else, and then they're going to get hungry, and then they're going to think about the laundry that they have to do, and they're not gonna remember half of what I told them. But if I can come through and say one thing, one very specific thing that I wanna be known for, that I wanna connect with my customer with, and it can change from customer to customer, but if I just stick to one thing, I know that they're going to have a much higher chance of remembering what I talk about. Personally, I try to put it as, if I'm doing an intro pitch, if I have said the word "and" more than 3 times, I've gone over my limit. Like, there's not much more I can say that's going to be impactful at that point. I need to wrap it up and then move on.
Yes, that's so well said. In fact, at my BNI meeting this past week, so what I did was I took a piece of paper and I wrote 3 words: milk, eggs, turkey, and I put a check mark next to 2 of them. And then I wrote the words big in a Sharpie, and I held up this paper and I said, lists are perfect for your holiday shopping. They're terrible for pitches. So I used that visual aid and I said, this week I'm looking for the business owner who is listing all of their services during their pitch. And then what I did is I gave the room a way to bring me up. So I said, when you hear that business owner list all their products and services after the meeting, go up and ask them, which of all the things you listed, which thing are you trying to really push right now? So that opens up the door for them to bring me up. Well, great. I mean, you're pushing your residential Christmas lights. Would you be open to an introduction to someone who might be able to help you get language around just that? So it's you give them the one thing, and then it's helpful if you have time to give the room a way to bring you up too. Because even
Mhm.
if I know a perfect referral for Sarah, but how do I bring Sarah up in a conversation?
No, I think that's absolutely incredible. I mean, and it goes back into that marketing of what's the problem you're trying to solve. As you market yourself, if I tell you, Faith Ann, that I do bookkeeping and strategy and candles and body oils and all of these other things that I do, and I'm so happy and proud of, how did that solve your problem knowing that I do A and B and C and D when you only have problem E? You've just overshadowed everything that's going on because I didn't connect to you. I didn't get that pinpoint targeted look and say, Faith Ann, I know you got a problem with E and I've got a solution and this is my solution and this is what I do and this is how I can help you solve that problem so you can feel another way when we're done. And we can do that with our product based businesses. We can do that with our service based businesses because we're clear about what that problem is that's being solved.
That's so well said. Excellent. So, and we've been talking a lot about your product based. I want to ask you, what do you wish people who make products knew when it comes to their bookkeeping? What do most people miss when it comes to their bookkeeping, specifically those people who have product based businesses?
Oh goodness. Okay, so I could talk about this part for days and days and days. Because this is where I'm so passionate about helping out makers and getting their finances straightened out with their bookkeeping. I think bookkeeping ends up being a task where you just have to do it. I think that's kind of the impression people have is I know I need to organize my finances. I know there's reports that come out of it. And where I come in with my services is I take those reports and I show them how to do something with it. Having the books done properly and having that reporting is just step one and step two to get you to step five, which is paying yourself, which is being able to outsource so you don't have to do everything yourself, so you can stay client focused. You can stay production focused and in these creative spheres where you're passionate and you want to do something with it. But if you feel like you can't afford it, if you feel like you're constantly reinvesting for more inventory, and you're in this rinse and repeat cycle of, I don't ever have enough money for anything else because I constantly reinvest. Well, let's look at those reports and let's look at those books and let that tell us the story of where you are so we can change that narrative and find a way to get you out of those cycles. I think so many small business owners end up not paying themselves properly because they don't have a goal in mind and they don't know how to organize the rest of their finances to get to that point where they actually can pay themselves. And then, of course, the next step is outsourcing. If you're not paying yourself, it's really hard mentally to justify paying somebody else to help you with social media, with marketing, with hiring somebody to help with the production, and all of those other things that truly help your business grow. But you have to get to a point where you're, step three, paying yourself. but that comes from step 2, knowing how to read those reports. And then step 1 is just the basics of having your finances organized through bookkeeping to begin with.
So step 1 is bookkeeping, step 2 is like learning from the reports, and then step 3 is getting to a point where you can pay yourself, and then you're comfortable in step 4 and 5 outsourcing those things that you don't enjoy so that you can put more passion into what you do enjoy. So, so well said. So, I have one last question to ask you, but before I do that, I want to ask you, since you make things and you're local, and I've been trying to be more intentional during this holiday season to ask those people who make things so that I can bring them referrals. So, Sara, if I wanted to bring you up at my Thanksgiving dinner table, how could I ask, or what should I be listening for that would be an
Mm.
opportunity to bring you up?
Mm. So that's a fantastic question. A lot of my business right now is geared towards other business owners. Um, if you were at a networking meeting, for example, I would say if you're looking to give gifts and thank yous to your clients, help you stand out with your clients, that you truly respect your relationship with them, let's talk about a branded candle that you can give as a thank you gift. We can do the same thing on, you mentioned family at the holidays. You can do the same thing if you are looking for thoughtful gifts that are local, they're made with intention by a woman business owner. Come connect with Sara because she has a wide range of gifts that are perfect for gift giving. You're going to feel good about being the best gift giver because she can help you pick something out that's going to be perfect for your recipient.
Oh, that's good, Sara. You need to use that now. You use that, what you just said, for your own pitch. You'll feel good. That was great, that line that you just said, and you'll have it so you can go back and listen and take that. So this is cool. So now that I know that, what I could do to open the door for that conversation is I could just simply ask my family, how is your Christmas shopping going? So that friends, this is so cool because a question like that to anybody else normally is just small talk conversation, fun, but to the business owner who has friends who make things, this is a very strategic question, and that's what I'm always talking about is to pass referrals. It's not going to be always that the electrician or the person's going to call you. Your Aunt Mary is going to say, "Who's the electrician you know?" That's a great way to pass a referral, but with this conversation, what Sara just told us is now we can actually go to our gatherings and be intentional and ask the good questions that allow us to then suggest, well, have you considered buying local this year? Have you considered buying products that you'll feel confident knowing that the ingredients are clean? So now I have a way to bring Sara up because of what she just told me. So thank you for that, Sara.
I think that's such a wonderful question. Thank you for always looking for innovative ways to pass those referrals. And one of the skills that you truly have is being able to pull this out of us as business owners and say, okay, I know what you're trying to say, but you're not quite there. So let me kind of leave the breadcrumbs of how do I get you there? And then you come up with these amazing things. I've been in networking groups for quite a while around the OKC area, and the ones that have really good pitches, I'll go and talk to them later, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I worked with Faithann on this." Like it's
Ooh.
out there in the sphere. Like you can tell who has spent the time creating these pitches, and they're effective, and they're gaining referrals because of it. It's not just that it sounds good, but it's effective also. It captures people's attention and they understand who they're talking to and what they're talking about.
Well, thank you very much. That's So good to hear, because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make networking better one pitch at a time. So thank you for that feedback. So as we wrap this up, I'm so glad we're doing this now too, in the timing of it, so that you can be a resource for those people who are hand making things to try and get them out in the world. I really encourage you guys to take everything Sara has said and take it to heart as you're pouring your heart into what you're making. So, as we wrap this up, Sara, if you could go back to your younger self as you just got started in your handcrafted candles, your business, and your bookkeeping business, what insights would you share with that former or the earlier version of yourself?
Oh, goodness, boy. Okay, so I started back in 2014 with my handcrafted business. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was just looking for a little part-time side income. I mean, truly, I had conversations about kind of the plans and the forethoughts of, if I'm in this farmer's market, if I make $50 a week, it might be $200 a month, but that'll pay for a dinner out. It'll pay for my supplies. It'll pay for a couple extra things. My daughter was young at the time and growing out of clothes every 3 months. I was like, this is fine. By the end of the first 90 days, I wasn't making $200 in product. I was making 2000, and I was not ready for it. I had not planned on being big. I had not planned on that kind of growth. And I think had I started with larger visions in place, not just where am I at today and what can I maybe do tomorrow, but what do I want to look at 6 months from now? Where do I want to be a year from now, 3 years from now? Do I even want to be in business 5 years from now? Because decisions and strategy that you make along the way varies depending upon if you're just doing this as a side hustle and you never want to get bigger versus, oh, wow, there's huge possibility. And I could be doing this for the next 10 years. So here I am, almost 11 years in business. And had I started with a different mindset of there's a lot of possibility of where I could go with this, I think my business would have grown differently. It would have grown larger and faster because I would have been prepared, because I would have been willing to accept all of the opportunities instead of stumbling into them going, "Oh, now I gotta figure stuff out, and I need to figure out things very quickly, or I'm gonna lose this next opportunity."
Oh, I love that. What an encouragement. Thank you so much, Sara, for sharing that. That's so cool. So, I've enjoyed getting to know more about how you started your business and getting to have all these insights for my audience, especially those who are making things as we go into this gift giving season. So, Sara, thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation.
Oh, I have loved being here, Faithann. Thank you so much. I'm glad we had a chance to chat and talk about some of these things that I know are just very dear to both of us with what we're giving back to our communities. So thank you for giving me a opportunity to share that with even more people.
Well, I'm happy to do it. Where can people find your Facebook group if they want some resources, and where can people find your wonderful products?
Absolutely. So I have a couple different websites. The first is the Makers in Business Facebook group. So if you just search Makers in Business, we're about the only one that'll pop up. Please put in a request. We'd love to have you. Any product-based business, even if you are not a handcrafted business, we would love to have you in because that information, those resources are universal, and I think you'll find a benefit to that. My website for bookkeeping and strategy is sunnygirlbusinesssolutions.com. We can schedule a free discovery call, talk about bookkeeping, talk about pricing strategies, your cost of goods. If you're looking to get into wholesale, I do a lot of conversations and trainings on wholesale as well. And then, of course, for my retail products, it's sunnywishes.com. So you can find all of my Sunny Girl Sundries products there and sign up for wholesale accounts as well.
Thank you. Very good. And all of that will be linked on the show notes. So go and network. And here, Sara and I'm sure Sara would agree, Let's challenge this audience. I want you to think of the person in your life who is making things as their living, as their business. And I want you to go to that person and I want you to ask them, how can I bring you up at my Thanksgiving dinner? How can I bring you up? And see what they say and be a real blessing for those people in your life. Thanks again, Sara.
Thank you, Faithann. I've appreciated being here.
You've been listening to the Networkers Tour Guide podcast with Faithann Basore. Share this episode with a friend and be sure to come back next week for more networking tips and tricks from the Networkers Tour Guide.